Hey, everybody. I've been posting this kind of information, and this is also hanging on the walls around the room. Ultimately, when you're dealing with a design project and you're really working with something as an engineering design scenario, this is the process that people learn over and over again when they're in training. So it becomes an instinct in the way you think, because this is the kind of steps the kind of step process it takes to get to a true design that the world needs. And so I'm asking you guys, in the process of developing ideas, if you're developing a true engineering design project, the explanation of what you're doing should include this the actual this is our goal. We're being asked by an engineering teacher to use a mousetrap spring as the power or engine for a car to make it go a minimum of 10 feet, but really we're supposed to go as far as possible. You're supposed to turn that into words so you can see it, understand it, and always be looking at the goal, the identified need. And if you don't have that in front of you, you're not going to focus on that. Your natural instincts are going to be all over the place. All right. So then how do you get to the next level and meet the, you know, project's problem? Start looking around and finding ideas that are good and might help you do this faster and simpler and easier. Because if you can copy good ideas and get it done quickly, then that gives you the time and space to potentially innovate and improve and get better than the stuff that other people have struggled through to get to this level. That is the purpose of the engineering process, is to start looking at things in the simple, proper ways so you can develop and create new things and get there faster. So, you can only really imagine potential good solutions if you've already looked at what's already else out there. Otherwise, you're just reinventing something that already exists. You can imagine in great ways if you've done the research and you've asked the right questions, and you can plan from there. Really come up with an idea, and then that's your, planning phase. And ultimately, in a process like this, your plan should be based on somebody else's, like, oh, this worked out really well. That worked out even better. And then from there, do I have the resources to make something like this, or don't I? Then you've got to scrap things quickly and move on to the next idea. Like, don't go with a Mark Rober idea. If you've got this, great. If not, so be it. But all of this information, that start to finish, as much as you can, and a lot of these are kind of like together in the same steps. So it doesn't have to be super detailed, but this kind of flow should be referenced as you build this document. Then, after you're done with all of that, including that idea for what we did with the shed and framing concepts and construction standards and all of the things that it would take to actually design something to code and do it right based on true design expectations. You complete all of this stuff, update this kind of a file system here, then we're going to move on to drawing your car. So here we go. I'll start from scratch. What I'm looking for everybody to do is their best at trying to actually draw up what you've done with the Mousetrap car in this program. And I'm going to give you a quick example. Not really quick. It's going to take a minute. But what you're going to do is create, as best you can, the design of your vehicle. And I'm going to give you this to do first. What I'm going to do is start drawing on the top view, and I'm going to center this up with a center point rectangle from the beginning. And I'm going to use a symmetry to my advantage throughout this whole design. And it's not exact. It's just going to be what you may or may not have in front of you. Like, check this out. This measurement is the same for most people. I have a 3-inch wide strip of wood. Hit tab, jump over here. Your length is roughly 12 inches. This is based on a design that's gone 60 feet. All right, 60 plus feet. Something that's super simple. And I'm going to give you guys a chance at drawing something like this easily and understanding how I would go about laying this out with tons of experience. All right, pressing the mouse wheel down, dragging this thing up. This measurement, I'm going to put in a 1 1/2 inch measurement with measurement in here, and hit tab, and I'm going to go 3 inches this way because that'll make it a 1/2 inch either way. Finish the sketch, hit extrude. You can hit the E on the keyboard and make that a lot faster, but I'm doing the simple ways here. 1/8 of an inch thickness is my extrude. When I hit OK, with the right stuff selected, that's the most common cutout scenario for most people, where this is the drive axle, and then this would be the front of the car up there. Next step, I'm going to put some tubes on this thing for axles. And what I'm going to do is start my drawing. Hold shift on the keyboard, press the mouse wheel down, rotate this thing around, get to this point so you can see it. You could also hit this if you wanted to do it that way. I'm starting a sketch on that side, and I'm going to draw, watch this, a pen tube. I use offset. Look at these measurements. 1/16 of an inch, perfect. So -1/16 on that would actually be perfect for that thickness of a pen tube. Watch this. My students that have seen this being done in class are going to understand what I'm talking about with this pen tube thing. This should be 3/8. What? 3/8 of an inch. So the measurements are a little bit tricky, but what we're doing is we're just drawing. You'll see. Just trust the process. I'll click back on the side view here, and I want you to use this in your constraints, a tangent constraint, and click the outside of this edge of that circle and that bottom edge of that block. And then we're going to do this again. This is going to be a -16th, 1/16 of an inch. Enter, and then dimension the outside edge to 3/8. Whoa, 3/8. There we go. And then lock it together with this tangent constraint. Tangent is a straight line that is perpendicular to the radius of a circle. If you want to understand that crazy geometry. Let's see. What other constraints are we allowed to use? These don't actually need to be in any specific exact location, because like when you glue this on, for example, it doesn't really end up that way. Finish the sketch. Extrude these things. And extrude the pen tube. This is just the realistic visual of what it looks like to design something quick and easy. These pen tubes, most people ended up with about 1/2 of an inch, and so they're perfect. New body is what we want. We don't want them to join. We want them new bodies, 1/2 of an inch long. That's exactly what I want. And then what we'll do is we're going to flip this drawing to the other side. Again, trust the process. Create a sketch on this side. And this is going to become much faster. You're going to go into project and include This tool, many of us on the computer should have it locked up here, docked up there, but what we're going to do is project and include these two. Watch what happens. You make sure you click the right stuff. This is a perfect example. I drew this on the one side. Now I'm going to use the drawing to match the same situation on this side with more pen tubes. So I click those edges and project them across. Same thing over here. Oop. Computer's acting iffy. There it goes. If I click on the surface, usually I don't click both edges, but that's what I'm looking for. It's two exact same shapes. I'm going to do this the long way. You can hit the E to extrude. Actually, I'm not going to do it the long way. E to extrude. The positive distance, this arrow is facing me. I want to go negative ½ inch to match the other side. Negative. Boom. So this is the design for that work for most people. And then what we're going to do is draw the axles in here. And that's going to be done by turning the origin back on and going down to the YZ axis and sketching on that. The way this is drawn is the YZ axis goes straight down through the center of this thing. So watch how we do this. Look at it from the side. Straight down the center of the tube. Remember that I'm right down the very middle of the block of wood and everything that's going on here. So what I want to do is make a wooden axle representation coming out from this for the wheels. Again, I want to do a project as much as possible. And click on that center circle, and what that's going to do is it's going to, again, I'm drawing now in here, it's going to project this into there, and then the wood has to be smaller than the fit in here, so I'm going to offset from the projection down here just a little bit. 1/64th. Perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's a perfect number. Watch. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Do them both at the same time. Pressing the mouse clicker down, mouse wheel down as a clicker. And I want to project. This is a perfect example since I have this here on this right angle. I want to project that and then do another same offset as the other side, which happened to be, you got 1/64th. Negative 1/64th. So negative 1/64th of an inch. And then we're going to extrude these as wooden dowels. So here, finish that sketch, hit extrude. You need to make sure that in the direction situation here, you're going to do symmetric. And then grab these and pull them outwards. All right, so now these, you see, I just clicked on the inside center circle. If I look this from the right side, I've got clearance around it, which is how this is built in reality. And then the size is just, some people's are here, some, just you can visually try and replicate whatever distance you've got at that point. But you see how I'm using center point or center symmetry here to make this project much, much more accurate and easier to build. Okay. Next tip is planes. If we do plane and I click here, see how there's 1, 2, 3 planes. You guys know that by now. If I go into construct a plane, if I click offset plane, you can see it's an offset is going to be aligned to a surface. I want to do an offset from that surface, and I want to go back. Depends on your measurements, but most people would be like 1/4 of an inch. And this is going to have to be a negative 1/4 of an inch. if I look at this like that, you can see what that would be an appropriate place to draw a wheel depending on most situations. And that is an infinite plane that goes across through here, so I can draw this on both sides. Watch this. I'm going to sketch here. This can be daunting. We're going to put CDs on the outside of this thing, and I don't want this to get to the point where it's bending your brain. Let's see, I've got now an offset plane that I created and a sketch over here. I can click on the right side of this. I can project this edge. I can do another offset. What happened? I guess I didn't project it. There it goes. All right, so I'm going to tilt this a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Just drawing a little bit of a representative of a CD. We could do a, let's see, half inch. It's because it's 1/4 of an inch. I'll just use the 1/4 of an inch. It's a little bit funny, but here, this. Trying to make this easy. Once we've got this done, like the CD size is 4.5 inches, so I can type in 4.5 here and match that. And really, just what I'm trying to do is get everybody to get a basic, fundamental setup of how this would be done. Like, say you had 4 CDs that you're using. Not everybody does, but the drawing like this is going to be the same for some people, different for others, but I'm looking at it like this, just with, this is the dowel. If I go in here and I click on the edge of the dowel and I project that line onto my new sketch, I can use it to draw the rest of this stuff. So, oof, what is going on? I keep not getting the offset or the projection. Project, click that, gotta hit OK. So it finalizes it. Then I can do this and offset it. So just looking at what I did over here, I just did this to make it look visually right. I did a 1/4 of an inch, and then the actual outside of the CD is 4.5 inches across. So this is 1/4. And then if I do a center diameter circle from here outwards to 4.5, ooh, 4.5. Can finish this, extrude this. This is going to be very small. It's going to be like 1/16 of an inch tops. All right. And again, this all started with me, and this is clear in the center. You know, that would be clear CD wheels and how you mount them and everything. This is just a visual replica. trying to do your best to get it close. So, and I'm getting people to the point of understanding things like this was a quarter of an inch in when we created this new plane on this side, and we did a bunch of work over here, but watch how fast this happens if we can get it set up the same way over on the other side. We have to do an offset plane a quarter of an inch over and then use everything we just drew to get this done. Watch. So I'm going to go construct. Seriously, you can see offset plane. Click the outside surface here. It's going to be negative quarter of an inch. Negative 1/4 of an inch. Enter. And we're going to do projections again. You're going to hit create, project. Whoop. I didn't draw my sketch on that side, or create the sketch on this side. I got to have a new sketch on that side before I could actually project. Project, include, project. You can just hit P on the keyboard to do this. But watch, I'm going to click that. And that surface, it's going to project the edges, inside and outside. All of that work is now done. Hit the E button on the keyboard. Hit this, and extrude to a 1/16 of an inch. My direction is not, no, that's the right direction. Okay, so there's a lot going on. This is not an easy modeling process. If you guys could just do at least like something like this, that'd be great. I'm going to take it to the next level and place a mousetrap here and try and do your best to replicate it. I do not want any functionality or working springs or anything like that. What you could do is just draw a block, and we'll see if we can get you to draw a dowel that makes it come out and make it look functional. Note that you can go in here, all of your bodies. You can also go in here and modify the appearances of things like this to match, the wood. Play around with some color appearances, make this thing good, do your best to match your car design, get a picture of this in with your Mousetrap racer portfolio stuff. This is going to take a while. I'm going to make a better video for Friday for this. That's a complete version of this. I'd like to see you guys try and do your own. Worst case scenario, you're going to build off of this point and continue on. Copy mine. Hopefully that's clear. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.